to cross over to Kenya. The question that is being asked is Kenya at the crossroads. Across the African continent, a new political energy is emerging, driven largely by young people demanding accountability, economic reform, and transparent governance. In Kenya, Gen Z's activism has reshaped the national conversation. Is this protest politics or generational political shift? We are now joined by my friend and brother Thomas Mariwa from a national chairman of Green Congress of Kenya. Thomas, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Tahir. It's very exciting to be on this show this morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thomas, we have seen what is happening in Kenya, and sadly it didn't get the traction that usually such turmoil would expect it to gain. But it's quite interesting to see how the young people in Kenya have taken it among themselves. And we in South Africa, we can relate, our historical issue of 1976, where the young people decided that they are going to take the bull by the horn and really challenge the administration because of the apartheid situation that we have. But Kenya is a democratic a country that is ruled by a constitution. What is happening in Kenya, Thomas?
Well, thank you, Tahir. Kenya's political landscape is in transition. There's intense debate around governance, around taxation, around the sharing of the national cake, the economic opportunity space. And Kenya is also fortunate to be one of the nations on the continent with very deep internet penetration. So this has introduced that cocktail, a sense of digital activism. The Gen Z, as you know, have been a key driver to this process. And broadly speaking, I mean, these are people born maybe between 97 and 2012. And they form a very influential cohort in our national politics now due to the high connectivity, as I've mentioned, large demographic. I think they're between 50 and 75% of the adult voting population. And there's, of course, very distinct expectations of governance and accountability, which are not traditionally felt within our political system. So I think I agree with you. Kenya is indeed at a crossroads, and perhaps this is not just Kenya. This is something that we will experience across the continent.
Now, tell me, how significant is the rise of the Gen Z political activism in shaping the future of Kenya? Do they have a plan? Is it anger of the young people with regards to their economic circumstances, or they are simply rejecting the old lame political disposition that has crippled Africa as a whole, where old people just want to be in power and still doing things the old way, not considering that Africa as a continent, it's a young continent. Majority of the population of Africa are young people, and the needs of young people are obviously different from the needs of our forebearers. And that transition seems to be a problem in Africa, where we are not transitioning enough to accommodate the needs and aspirations of young people.
Well, the Gen Z present, I think, a significant challenge for all thinkers across the board, because on one hand, they have very powerful tools in their hands. We've now learned, for example, about digital activism, which has completely reshaped the contestation, political contestation from these traditional political approaches and platforms. There's a lot of empowerment that has come from this social media, in as much as there's risk that comes with that. But youth engagement remains critical, because as long as we have a population that is leaderless, trying to speak into the formal, rather informal, disorganized, in the conventional sense, trying to speak into the conventional systems, then I think we have a very serious challenge there that must somehow be addressed by society as a whole.
But then, what do the young people really want? What is it that they are demanding from your government? Your government, currently under President Ruto, in many media articles that I've seen, is that Kenya is one of the most corrupt governments that we have in Africa. Is that the fact? Is that what prompts this protest by young people? Is it corruption? Is it governance? Is it economic issues? What is it that really the young people want? And has the government of Kenya comprehended these demands to try and address them?
Well, I think you'd have to look at the hashtags that were driving this movement, because there are about three main hashtags, if I recall correctly. We had reject the finance bill, we had Ruto must go, and we had occupy parliament. I think these are some of the prominent hashtags that were there, that were retweeted probably 500,000 to 1 million times. The issue here is, I think you have to look at this thing, historically. Kenya perhaps is a victim of its own success. President Kibaki, while he was in power, brought a free primary education program, which basically targeted 100% transition from primary to secondary. And for the first time, you had this huge turnover of people with a certain quality of education coming into the work market. The challenge with that is that they did not see the program through. They did not look at the work market. They did not look at the opportunity space on this other end of things. So what we are facing now is the fallout from that. And you see, you have all these educated people. You have, for example, degree holders hawking on the streets. Everybody's doing what they can to survive, because the formal job market is not accommodating enough. And I think the government is yet to come to grips with the approach of mass job creation, which is what perhaps would inform what how the opportunity space looks like. So the issue is first, opportunities. There's simply not sufficient opportunities. And then two, there's also a lot of taxes. If you remember, there was a digital tax that was brought in. The finance bill was really a big part of what triggered all of this. But remember, this was a year after the late Baba Raila Odinga had his own protests as well, which then was followed the following year now with the Gen Z protests. So I think it's a continuation, it's a grievance that's being felt both in the formal and informal political environment, more so by the youth, and the youth having taken over were more pronounced in how they express their discontent with the current state of affairs. But it is something that has been felt, it's something that's there. Governance may be part of it, corruption may be part of it. But I think it's all in all, it's how we organize our government, how we think about government. This needs to change.
Yes. Now, we're going to just break for an ad break, and then the next segment of our discussion, I want us to discuss the Green Congress Party and your involvement in the future of Kenya.
Excellent.
Right now, over 150 million children
Trade inquiries, contact Mohammed on 033 387 2121. Murchison Spice.
You are listening to Salam Media live from our headquarters in South Africa. This is Salam Media, keeping you company this Ramadan.
Welcome back to News and Views. I'm joined by Thomas Mariwa from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome back, Thomas. Thomas.
Thank you very much.
I've known you for, I don't know how long, more than 20 years now. And
Yes.
I've seen your sojourn as we were growing. And I know that you are related to Baba Raila Odinga. Now you are chairman of a Green Congress party, which will be competing with the party that Baba Raila Odinga was basically leading, and it is quite a huge party, huge movement. Now, just tell us, who's Thomas Mariwa, and what is the Green Congress Party, and why did you move away from your traditional home in Baba Raila Odinga's political home into the Green Congress Party?
Wow. Okay. Well, Thomas Mariwa is an entrepreneur, a businessman, an environmentalist, a father, an African. What attracted me to the green politics, first of all, is the global appeal to some of the things that we've been talking about and working with throughout the years. The late Mzee Raila, he knew about what we were doing, and he was perhaps one of our biggest proponents. And I think some context is very important to this. When Baba was first appointed as prime minister in 2007, I think you recall that period. We had a sit down with him, and at that time we were talking about the 5 water towers in Kenya and how we can restore and rejuvenate the water towers. And indeed, at that time, he gave us a desk at his office, and that perhaps may have been the original beginning of what was known then as a Mao Secretariat. There's a lot of politics and a lot of push and pull that perhaps made us pull out of that formal environment. But we've had this relationship with green ideologies going that far back, 19 years now. Now, to this day, when we finally came up with this concept of the Green Party, it was actually in 2016. It's 2016 that the party was initially launched. I was involved in the initial thinking and conception of the party, but I moved into the party before the 2022 elections. I think the view of Baba and the view that I prefer to approach is this. You see, Kenyan politics today has been driven by social democrat ideals. If you look at most of our parties, they align generally, and most people come from the same sort of root, the KANU and Orange Rainbow Movement, and then the Orange, and everybody in the political landscape, whether it's President Uhuru, President Ruto, the late Baba Raila Odinga, they are all from this environment. So we felt that green politics and the issues around green politics are the next natural progression in the growth of our political thinking and the growth of our political environment. So we can say it's a service to society to build this, because what we're doing is not just about competitive politics, but it's about developing alternative ideologies grounded in tested systems. And of course, we are also trying to adapt what it means to be a green party. And it's something that if you look across the world, a lot of people are looking at us now. For example, the Global Greens have, which we have our sister parties, have several countries in Europe where they are in power. And, North America, Canada, there's actually members of parliament all over. So we have a deep pool of insights and knowledge that we're trying to tap into and bring back to our people back here. So far from pulling away, I think, and he really endorsed what we're doing and really encouraged us. I think it is part of the democratization of our space that has pushed us into this direction.
But then, can environmental justice and economic reform go hand in hand in Kenya, looking at the current economic climate that you earlier on referred to, and what reforms are urgently needed to restore public trust?
Yes, they can in fact go hand in hand, because part of the regeneration process, part of the reclaiming our environment, provides a lot of opportunities for the young people. You have to understand, when we talk about environmental justice, there's a misconception, because the standard we are going by is the European and the Western standard. And I have a problem with that, because you see, if you look at the statistics, according to the World Bank, Africa pollutes only 4% of the global pollution, yet we think maybe something like 30% of the carbon being sunk. So when we talk about climate justice, we want equity in how we access energy. We want to be able to do things that work for us. We want to do things that other societies managed to do in previous ages to help them grow. So far from being opposed to or opposing economic growth, I believe that climate justice, if it is properly done, especially meaning that we will have access to clean and affordable energy. I've seen, for example, in South Africa, you stopped burning coal, and your competitiveness in many sectors went down. Some people within the green movement would argue that would argue with me when I say that, listen, I don't think it was necessarily a right thing for South Africa to stop burning coal at this time. I think the West, the countries of the West, need to pollute less. If we are going to have justice, then let them first of all lower the pollution even by 5%. And let us have access to affordable energy. Let us have solutions that work for us. And then we can be able to talk about what the West tries to bring to us in terms of climate equity and justice. But beyond that, I think our pillars of environmentalism, social justice, nonviolence, gender equality, and grassroots democracy will still drive how we view all of these things and how we interpret the notion of climate justice.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Sadly, we have run out of time. I really wanted to dig deep into your work as a party. That was Thomas Mariwa from Nairobi, Chairman of Green Congress Party of Kenya. Hopefully, we'll catch up again and take this conversation forward in the near future. All of the best to you and your followers.
Thank you very much. Thank you.